Hey guys, Mindy Brouse for the Integrated Co-op. I wanted to talk to you about the Dialectic programs we'll be offering. We have a Dialectic 1, 7th grade, Dialectic 2, 8th grade. Middle school can be a real challenge, and it's often a time of stress and anxiety, and there's a lot of shifting in the subjects. So we want to treat middle school for what it is. It is years of transition. So we want to do those and honor that, all right? Now, just like our rhetoric program, you get a facilitator who is not the teacher. The facilitator will be drawing the students into conversations and evaluating, considering, and really engaging with the material that they studied the previous week. So the homeschooling parent is still the teacher, but our facilitators will be parents or adults who have been background checked, interviewed, and all that, who just really love kids and want to discuss with them, right? So they are not responsible for making sure your student knows the material, but the discussions that they will be leading with their class will really help the students. There's really nothing that can duplicate deep discussion in Socratic circles with a class. It is just an amazing way to help move students from knowledge to understanding, to evaluating, and that is our goal. Our program is not easy, okay? But it is not an honors program. It is not an AP program. It is a program. It is a basic program with lots of really wonderful subjects and books and conversations and activities and all of that. We have found, and I've been homeschooling 25 years, I have found that it's much easier to bump up subjects than it is to scale them down. We also believe that a classical combined with a Charlotte Mason education can be fun and exciting and engaging and does not have to make our students cry. We think that's a myth, and I think I've seen for too long to see people justify students losing a love of learning because it's a good classical education. And our team, we don't think that has to be. We think you can have an amazing, wonderful, great education, a classical one, that can be a challenge and can be good and make you think and make you do hard things, but not make you feel dispirited, not make you feel like you are miserable. We also want to provide the subjects that are part of a typical education, but taught in atypical and discussed in atypical ways. So that is the basic overview. For Dialectic 1 and Dialectic 2 are going to have some big differences, okay? Some of that, it will be similar, right? So we have decided as a team that we could have one Dialectic facilitator do half the day with both classes. We can combine the classes on subjects that are not leveled. So history, fine arts, some pre-Spanish, some study skills. Those could be, in history, could be combined. All right, so one facilitator could teach both classes for half the day. The second half of the day, we can split into leveled subjects, which would be pre-logic versus logic, which would be science and maybe, and then project science fair versus geography fair, things like that. So let me explain what we'll be doing the difference. So for Dialectic 1, which is 7th grade, we'll be doing pre-logic using chess, and one of my kids is gonna walk through, she'll be very quiet. We'll use chess and brain puzzles and fallacy studies. So the whole first semester will be chess and teaching them strategy and logic and playing that game. And they'll even have some tournaments monthly, invite parents and things like that. The second semester, they'll work into fallacy studies and brain puzzles and those kinds of things. And then Dialectic 2, the 8th grade class, will actually do a logic curriculum. So that would be the difference there. For D1 and D2, they'll both be doing Greek and Latin roots. We have found as a team that Greek and Latin root study is the best way to help our kids with their vocabulary and writing and things like that as far as language. We also feel like it is best to teach a spoken language that they will use long-term in the world or for work or culture engagement. And the two most needed ones besides English are Spanish and Mandarin. And we decided as a team to go with Spanish. So they are, other than Greek and Latin roots, they will be doing some basic intro pre-Spanish. They won't move into full Spanish until 9th grade. For the Greek and Latin roots, they'll be doing workbooks, workbook A for 7th grade, workbook B for 8th grade. And the facilitator will do some really fun and engaging activities to help them develop those skills and build that vocabulary. Let's see the difference in science. For 7th grade, we're going to really work, like I said, for 7th grade to be a transition year. So for science, the D1 students will use the same textbook that I am using to pull the hands-on activities and science study for grammar. This program is by Berean Builders. It's fantastic. What it does is it ties it to history. So the textbook we'll be using for our first year next year will be 1600 to 1850, which is what we're studying in history also. And what they do is they learn the scientific discoveries and the person who made them as they move through history. So again, they're seeing those connectedness between history and science. For 7th, and we'll be doing those hands-on activities down in grammar, but in dialectic, they're going to dive into the person more. They're going to talk more about a discovery and do some bumped up hands-on activities. So they won't only do what we're doing, they're going to bump it up and start talking about labs, scientific method, really easing them into a harder, a deeper science. For 8th grade, Dialectic 1, they'll use the atomic age, which is the Berean Builders Middle School, one of the Berean Builders Middle School programs. So this, again, gets bumped up again and is a really great bridge between middle school and high school. So they'll be doing that. Fine arts will be the same. Their projects will be different, things like that. So that is some of the big differences. One of the things I love that we're going to be doing, one of my favorite parts of our program that makes us unique for our dialectic and rhetoric is at the end of, well, first of all, we're going to have time for electives discussion. So we believe we can present and provide and have a wonderful co-op plan and engagement that allows students to be done with their core subjects and have time for in-depth, maybe career focus, maybe just interest focus electives. So we don't think a student for a classical education needs to do their classical subjects for 7 hours a day and then have to do anything else they're interested in adding, which would be called electives in typical school, in the evenings. We don't think it should be like that. One of the perks of homeschooling is the one-on-one tutoring method, and it should not take 6 hours a day. It should not. So we will have a time slot in every dialectic class time for students to share their electives. What are they interested in? What are they learning about? We want to not only encourage our students to pursue those things, we want them to know they are seen. We want them to see that we value those things. So, for example, one of our students, Elliot, really loves stop motion photography. That is a fantastic elective to be working on, and he should get credit for that. So we will talk about that. We will let each student share. And then the way that we'll end our day, every co-op day, is my favorite. We're calling it Connections, and it is giving time and space to really ask the class, where did you see connections in our subjects today? Where did you see connections in what we shared? We want them to start putting together that, let's say, this symphony has so many bombs sounding, it sounds like a war because it was written during the War of 1812 and it was expressing that. We want them to talk about and see those kinds of things. So the facilitator will draw them out when she sees them and during class, but we want to make sure at the end of the day they see that. It'll also be a time where we share about truth, goodness, and beauty. And we want to ask our students, as a part of the classical education, to saying, where did you see truth, goodness and beauty today in our co-op, whether it was in the subjects, whether it was in our classmates and how we discussed. And then we also want to ask, where did you see God glorified today? And where did you see areas that maybe he was not glorified and we did not reflect the attitude of Christ as a people or as a world, things like that. So we're very excited about it. It's going to be great. It's 30 weeks, 15 weeks a semester. I think that is everything. The only cost is the supply fee, which is $300 for each dialectic student. That will go to their facilitator for supplies. Anyway, just want to give you a basic overview of dialectic program. Thanks.